Happy Friday. It's the last Friday in September 2019. I'm Cheryl Fidelman, life coach, trauma healer, and writer. And today's topic on Fridays with Fidelman is the masculine and the feminine. And I want to talk about how codependence and unhealed trauma, and like I've said a million times, that I think codependence is the most obvious way in which we demonstrate our unhealed trauma in relationship. So I think that codependence steals our natural tendency toward our masculine and our feminine. And I want to be inclusive of all gender identities. So I'm speaking to the masculine and feminine in all of us. Some of us have more masculine energy, and some of us have more feminine energy. So I'm still probably going to say man and woman in here, but I still want to note that I want to be inclusive of all gender identities and all sexual preferences as well. So I've been thinking about this a lot because, there's men who have had their voice taken away from them for some reason. Their mother was a rageaholic, their father was a rageaholic, they weren't able to speak up in the house. They were dominated by some force inside their house when they were a child. And so speaking up and speaking their mind and speaking their voice isn't part of where their nervous system is at, right? So their nervous system is shut down and a bit trepidatious to come out and say anything. So they become a little bit of a follower, usually get themselves involved in with narcissists because the narcissist has the voice and they don't, right? And so they'll just defer to the narcissist experience, which is what they did as children. Defer to their parent or guardians who was the narcissist, defer to their experience. And so a man will grow up and become an adult and be like, I don't have a voice. I don't have my masculinity. I'm not like in my balls. I'm like in my body. I don't have a voice where I can actually speak and direct things the way I see things should be spoken and directed. And that is almost like their parents have stolen their masculine power as when they were children. Because the masculine speaks, directs, the masculine is the visionary. And when I say the masculine, I'm talking about the masculine within everybody. The masculine speaks, directs, it's focus, it builds, it penetrates, right? This is how the masculine is biologically, somatically, cognitively, figuratively, and literally set up. So oftentimes a man will feel like, I think I'm the chick in this relationship because she's directing the show. Which in a healthy relationship, one partner can direct the show in one area because they have credibility in that area and they have a skill set in that area and they defer to them. And then it can switch back and forth. Like whoever has the skill set in that area, the other one defers to that one. But if the scale is just way too bent towards the other partner is directing the show at all times, and then you're just deferring to their experience constantly, then you're constantly in your feminine and the partner is in their masculine. Because the feminine is set up to relax, open, surrender, and receive. So whether you're a man or a woman, if you are constantly directing, if you are constantly managing, if you are constantly telling the other one what to do and how to do it and where to go, and you can't sort of let go and let the other person just handle it to the best of their ability. Like if your world and your structure and your paradigm is pretty much setting the stage for how the whole relationship is run, then you're in your masculine. You're like in the extreme masculine and you're not softening up to receive the other person. And so that's another reason why codependence and narcissists really match up really well often, is because one person is saying, I don't have a voice. I don't have my power. I don't have the power to build the thing that I want to build. And you do. You have the voice, you have the power, you have the vision. And also, like I said, I'm not speaking about healthy relationships where certainly one can be the visionary and one of them, handles the background working so it's even, right? One of the person is fulfilling on the vision and the other person is creating the foundation and the sort of underbelly so the other person can fulfill on the vision, and that vision is agreed upon by the two people. But when it's imbalanced, and one person is just deferring to the other person, number one, because they just don't have a voice, okay? They don't have their power. They're not in their masculinity. And the other person doesn't wonder what your voice would be if you had one, okay? Which would be that person softening their masculine and being more in their feminine, being more nurturing to the person who doesn't have the voice. Hey, what's going on with you? How are you feeling? I'm going to nurture you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to wonder what it is you actually have to say if you had something to say. Okay, if your dad didn't beat you down and you lost your voice, let's nurture your masculinity. Let's nurture your drive and your focus and that thing that you want to create in life. And I'm going to stop silencing you by controlling the entire situation because I now want to be more in my feminine. And that's another thing that a healthy relationship can do is you can sort of start switching off masculine, feminine. Sort of like, I don't know if this is a great analogy because I used to play soccer, but I don't completely remember. But I remember like sometimes that, there'd be a forward and a halfback, and then the forward would fall back and the halfback would go to the forward position. If I'm not saying that accurately, I hope you get the gist of the analogy that I just used. So we can sort of toggle back and forth and switch the masculine and feminine roles in a really healthy, very, very productive way. But when somebody is when their nervous system is traumatically frozen and they actually cannot surrender, relax, and receive, and they're constantly in push, 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 go, 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 I'm not safe to relax and receive and open up. So I'm going to control and manage this entire situation at all times. And so they're fully always traumatically stuck in their masculine, and then they find somebody who's traumatically stuck in their feminine, and they're like, actually, all I know how to do is, which is sort of the more traumatic expression of the feminine, where you're just like passive. You're not consciously choosing to not have a voice and be soft. It's not a conscious choice, right? You're like traumatically passive and easily taken on somebody else's ride. And I think also these extreme situations happen with the codependent and narcissistic stronghold because if you had a really, 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 really powerful parent, the anger, the narcissism, the addiction, the disassociation was so strong that you had to go to an extreme shutdown, then the partner you're usually going to magnetize towards is somebody who is as extreme as your parent was in their disassociation, as extreme as your parent was in their bossiness, in their traumatic masculine. And it could have been your mother or your father. It could have been your mother who just never relaxed, never showed emotion, never surrendered, never let anybody take care of her. She was constantly in her masculine, constantly directing, fixing, telling you what to do, handling things, not letting you have a voice, not letting your own soul and your own purpose and that you're the own way in which you move through life come out. She had it all handled, right? So maybe your mother was constantly in her masculine. Now, it's not to say that we don't all have the desire to relax and surrender and receive no matter at moments, no matter what our gender is. And it's not to say that no matter what our gender is, we all have, parts of us that are focused and driven and want to build. But if you are traumatically stuck in one side or another, the masculine or the feminine, for long periods of time, and you're not aware of it, or you become aware of it and you can't stop it, because oftentimes once someone realizes, like, I've been controlling everything for years, or I've been being controlled for years, the realization comes, and then there's the next phase of, like, how do I shift that? Because I'm actually scared to meet my feminine, or I'm actually scared to meet my masculine, or I'm scared to have my masculine and feminine come out in this relationship, because then this relationship will totally be unbalanced. Or it just won't work anymore, because I came in dominantly in my traumatic feminine, and I attracted this extreme masculine force. Now, how would this relationship even work if I change or if I transform? And so a lot of people resist changing and transforming because they don't want to lose what they've created by their traumatic selves. And also, when they were children, if they did speak up to the parent that they were shut down by, okay, they'd most likely get shut down even more. So how does one develop a voice if they're used to being in their feminine? How do they develop that masculine voice if they're scared? Their nervous system is naturally scared to speak and say what they want and have it go the way that they say it's going to go. And potentially, they don't even know what their voice is. So that's really being in your extreme traumatic feminine, right? Because the man is like, or the stereotypical healthy version of the masculine energy is like, I know where we're going. I'm clear. We have mission, purpose. I'm going to drive this force, and we're going to penetrate, right? So that's with everybody on board, right? Taking care of everybody, making sure everybody's okay. And so until we get to that point, okay, until the traumatized masculine has their voice, they have to know what their voice is. Okay, great, I want to come out. Okay, great, I want my power as a man, or I want to have my power in the masculine. I don't want to be dominated by this feminine energy. What is my voice? Because I actually never got a chance to develop it because I was always shut down when I was a kid. What is my voice now that I'm ready to sort of come out? Who am I? What is my particular expression of the masculine? What is my particular expression of the feminine? You know, I was taking this sex positivity course a couple of months ago, and a lot of the discussions, which were really great, were really trying to drive home the fact that your plumbing or your genitals that you were born with doesn't necessarily depict your gender. And I want to add to that, which is your plumbing and the genitals you were born with doesn't necessarily say that you know the best expression of that gender. You're born with a penis, that means you should know the best expression of what it is to be a man if you identify as one. You're born with a vagina, that means you know how to be the best version of femininity if you identify as a woman. We don't know. You know, some do. I mean, some come out straight from the womb, and they're really clear and healthy in their masculine or feminine. But I've spoken a lot about bringing a lot of my work or my ideas or theories, or working with other people who have similar ideas and theories, to bring this work into, have it be mandatory in elementary schools, junior highs, and high schools. Number one, teaching children at a young age during adolescence about the sexual experience, okay? You're going to have hormones. This is how you do it. This is how you manage the experience. This is how you manage the experience within yourself and with others, and this is the energy that's going to come at you, that's going to be coming at you, and this is how you manage it. Nobody teaches us that stuff. Nobody teaches us how to ongoingly heal our trauma when we start being traumatized. Pretty much, for some of us, from birth, 0 to 8 are the most important ages, but it happens well after that. Nobody teaches us how to digest, manage, heal, experience, explore, discover how trauma is affecting us and our view of life. These are classes that I want to be inside of a movement, a team that's helping these classes be as important as math and social studies. Additionally, and this might be in the sexuality class, teaching children how to honor their masculine and feminine, because we lose it so easily. Once trauma happens, we can lose the natural expression of our dominant hormone. And then that becomes like an inner struggle, for some of us, our entire lives. Women who are afraid to be women, men who are afraid to be men, because it was shocked out of them. This is such a massive conversation. I have a few. And then there's the stages, right? There's the stages of evolution of the masculine and the feminine. At some point in life, our masculine is more dominant. At some point in life, our feminine is more dominant. When we're in relationship, there's a healthier side of us that is where we feel like, oh, I'm being nurtured in this relationship. This is where I can soften. This is where I fall back to halfback. This is where I move back up to fullback. And it can be a very, very beautiful dance. But it can also be a process of continually being starving for your feminine side, continually being starving to just have a moment to relax, to just have a moment to receive, because you are stuck in operating a particular way, and then it could seem as if this person that I'm with is not providing nurturing for me. And that may be true, but at the same time, you may be deflecting it because you're so used to being like, no, I'm good, I'm going to take care of this, I'm going to handle this, and I'll completely exhaust every ounce of myself just to appease you and appease this situation. And I think overall, it's tricky for a lot of us, even if we're not extreme codependents or we've healed, a good amount of our trauma. It becomes, tricky, just in general, where you're to have a healthy balance of masculine and feminine, to have a healthy balance of sensuality, self-care, creativity, imagination, and have a healthy balance of that and future building and creating and having like drive and getting done what you want to get done in this lifetime, like having a relentlessness about it. Yeah, I think those are all of my thoughts. Share with me your thoughts about if you're in a relationship, if you feel like you are expressing a healthy balance of your masculine and feminine, and there's a healthy balance of the masculine and feminine in your relationship, or if not, or if you're single and this is something that you've been battling with as far as feeling like you've been traumatically pushed towards being more masculine or traumatically pushed towards being more feminine. And there was something else that I wanted, like a little announcement I wanted to make. Oh yeah, I just did another summit, a really, really great summit about mindset. I mean, I didn't do it. I was interviewed in the summit, so I'm going to be sharing with you all the link to the summit so you'll be able to watch it. I believe it's another 21-person summit on mindset, and I talk about my trauma healing. So that's it, everybody. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for listening. Happy healing, and you are awesome. Bye.